Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I'm here with Natalie today because today is one of our fabulous favorite 15s. Yes.
We got some good ones.
We do. And so this one is the Quatrefoil Quilt, which people love. They just love this one. And we get to see it.
It's fun and it looks great in every fabric we've done.
We've done it in several different fabrics, and it's great, and it is one of our favorites. So to make this quilt, we chose Kaffe fabric, and we're using his rainbow colorway, and it's gorgeous, isn't it?
It really is.
I love that big floral print on the border. Really, really pretty. So to make this quilt, you're going to need one packet of 10-inch squares, and we have used Kaffe Classics rainbow colorway, and it's gorgeous. It's just beautiful. You can see the fabrics in the quilt behind us. It's just beautiful. You're going to need some background. You're going to need 4 yards of this. This takes care of your 4 patches, your sashing, your inner border. Any place there's white, that will do it. You're going to need some accent because we're making 4 patches with this black right here, and you can see it just makes those colors just pop. 3/4 of a yard for that. Now our cornerstones and our other 4 patches are all made out of this fabric right here, and you'll need 3/4 of a yard for that. But we use the same fabric in our border, and so for the border you'll need 1 yard and 3/4. And so you'll need both of those. And you can choose any accent fabric you want for those blocks, but we went with this border fabric on both pieces. Mm-hmm. Now our backing right here is 9 yards, which sounds like a lot, but it's 3 3-yard cuts because this quilt is huge. The quilt is 84 by 98. And so it makes a really nice, great quilt. Mm-hmm. And we're super excited to show you how to do it. So there are several components to this block, and we have a 4 patch, and we have this block right here, and so 4 patch, this block, and then we also have a center block that is just a 4.5-inch square. And so we're going to start with these blocks right here, and you're going to need 4 of those, and they all come out of 1 layer cake. So let's go ahead and cut 4 of those. And these are going to be 4.5 inches. All these blocks turn out to be 4.5 inches. So I'm going to lay my ruler right on the edge of that and then come over 4.5 right here. And this little piece will go in my crumb bin because that is plenty big enough for that. And so then we're going to go ahead and cut these into 4.5-inch squares as well. So 4.5. And then 4.5. Man, this rotary cutter is so smooth. There we go. All right. So we have 4 of these, and what we're going to do now is we are going to snowball the corners on these right here. And so we're going to take 4 2.5-inch squares, and Natalie, you want to cut me some 2.5? Oh, not this one. This is our sashing. Hang on, I have a piece here. Maybe. Do you have one down there? A strip? There we go. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to cut a 2.5-inch strip off of this, and I'm just going to leave it all folded up nicely like this. Make sure that my folds are lined up. This is something that saves a lot of time. Knowing that we're going to subcut this into 2.5-inch blocks, even if it has a little elbow, it's not going to matter because we're going to cut this into 2.5-inch squares. So I now have how many layers of fabric here? 8?
8.
8. Look at that baby. Rolls right through it. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up so I can see where the selvages are and just cut that part off. And
you might want to pull that down just so that it covers.
Good idea.
So you get a little more out of your.
Good idea.
Out of your strip.
And then after cutting 8, that just feels like butter. Mm-hmm. All right,
so all the squares are 2.5 in this project?
They are.
Nice.
And so then what we're going to do is you can press a line. You want to press a few of those?
Sure.
You can draw a line. You can also use your diagonal seam tape because what we're going to do is we're going to sew a corner on all 4 of these, this corner and this corner. And we have to do them one at a time because there will be overlap. And so I'm just going to come to the sewing machine and sew 4 of these like this. And then I'm going to keep, now watch this. This fabric is very thin, and so you don't want to get two of them together. Well, if you do, you just take them apart. It's not the end of the world, but I just almost sewed 2 squares together. So we're just going to chain piece these and keep sewing them right on the line.
There you go.
And here's these.
These to be cut apart.
Trim and cut, and then I'll add the square to the other side.
Whoop.
I love filming with Natalie because I have a helper.
But I also
Well,
need
there's
to
a lot more other reasons too,
press
Natalie.
it back.
Yes. And then I will start adding the square on the
There you
other
go.
side. So I'm just going to put this one here like this and sew up to the corner, and then that will give me a little point right there. So see if I can keep up with her.
Oh, I have to keep up with you.
Sometimes that changes. But I'll put these back over here so that you can trim those as well.
Okay.
All right, here's one more right here. And then I will trim these off for you.
Oh, thank you.
And that one. And now we have all of our middle blocks are done just by snowballing those tops like that. And so we're going to put these all in one spot. And then we have a middle block right here that that is cut 4.5, and I believe it is. And this is, you know, when you're doing a project like this where all the blocks are 4.5, it's super handy to have a 4.5-inch ruler, and you can just lay it on your blocks to make sure that they all stay 4.5, you know, that they stay that same size. So then when you sew them all together, they all fit. All right, so now we have our 4 blocks right here, and then we need a center block, which is 4.5. And so you'll take another layer cake, and I like to use some of the layer cakes that have different colors in them, like this one, because it literally, we're gonna cut 4 squares and there'll be 4 centers, but because of the different colors, they're gonna look like they came from different fabrics. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut some 4.5-inch squares off of this one, and one more here.
Oh.
And then we'll layer these up and cut 2 more off of those. And these are really, they're gonna look like they came from different fabrics, don't you think?
Yes.
I mean, the pattern is kind of the same, and some of his have a completely different pattern on them. So you can really get blocks that look different.
Yeah, it's really fun.
All right. So so look at those two. Same piece, completely different, but you need a 4.5-inch square for the middle of your block. So you'll set these aside for some of the other blocks. And we will add this one. Actually, let's add this blue one. I like
Yeah,
the blue.
contrast is good.
Yeah. So I like this blue over here. And then the next block we're gonna do is our 4 patches. The 4 patches made from 2 strip sets. One is a background and the black, and the other one is the background and a print. And again, we use the same print as our border, and you can see that right here. So you're just gonna sew 2 strips together like this. And we have this one right here. And look, every time you cut this, it's gonna look like you cut it from a different piece of fabric. And so then we have this black and white as well. And what we're gonna do, we can lay them together, we can cut them separately. What do you think, Natalie? What do you usually do?
Well, I usually cut them separately, but
Okay,
I've
let's do
done
that.
both.
Let's do that. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna trim off this selvage and the extra piece on here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how close you match up that first bit. It's always going to be a little bit different lengths.
A little bit. All right, so I'm going to cut one of these, and then I'm going to cut one of these over here, this black and white as well. Make sure I'm catching my selvages, and then I'll let you cut a few more while I'm sewing these together.
Okay.
So 2.5. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to let Natalie cut some more of these, but I'm going to be sewing these together, and I'm going to turn them and sew them this way. It doesn't matter whether
They always end up the same no matter what?
They'll end up the same no matter what. And
Cool.
so we're going to lay these together. If you press to the dark side like this, so press to the dark side, then when you put your pieces together, they should be opposite, and those seams should nest up perfectly, just like that. All right, so if you'll cut
Awesome.
a few more, we need 4 of each to make the block.
Okay.
So I've got these centers lined up, and I'm just going to sew down the side 1/4 inch. And several of you have asked about this thin foot that I use. This is the foot the sewing machine comes with, and it is not a 1/4 inch, so you do have to follow your 1/4 inch line. But look how perfect that came together.
Excellent.
All right, so I'm going to leave this for you to
I'll press it in a
press,
minute.
and I'm going to sew a couple more together. Perfect. And again, if you are worried about if your blocks are coming out the right size, remember you can just set that 4.5 inch ruler on there and just check them. They should be 4.5 square. And the most important thing right here, when you're lining these up, the most important thing is that your middles match. You might have a little extra over here on this side and a little extra on this side, because when they cut a pre-cut and put the pinks in, it's not quite the same size as a cut strip. But as long as your middle is lined up, I don't worry about what's hanging over on this edge right here, because I can trim that up later, but I know that my middle is what I want to match. So we've got our 4 patches done, and Natalie is putting the block on those and squaring them all up. Now sometimes when we make a block, it could be a little bit too small as well as too big. And so if it's too small, but still in that 1/4 inch, you can just hide that when you take the seam, and don't worry about it too much. These I used, instead of cutting my strips, I used a jelly roll strip. And those, because of the peak, they tend to be a little bigger than our regular 2.5 inch cut with our, when we cut with a ruler. So we're just trimming all those off so that that feels good to us, and we are able to use those and put those together so it makes a nice block.
But as long as everything is within a 1/4 inch, it'll fit, right?
Yeah. You might need to, sneak a little bit on one side, but I mean, honestly, if anybody looks inside your quilt to see the inside, they're not your friends. So don't even worry about that. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this block together, and I have four of these. Nope, this is another set I'm making here. I have 4 of these, and on this one,
there's our middle. I was like,
Yeah,
where did
here's
the
our
middle
middle.
go? We lost it.
we can put our middle right here. And on this one, these honestly, these are star legs. Mm-hmm. But when we turn them out this way, they look like the quatrefoil block. If you turn them in this way, it's going to look like a star block. So
It's cute.
I don't know, lots of
cute,
ideas. But we're going to turn them to the out like this and put ours on the outside. And then in our corners, we're going to add our 4 patches. Mm-hmm. And the 4 patches go color in.
Yes.
So I'm looking for colors that are going to stand out a little bit, like this. How about this blue one over here?
Nice.
And this makes our completed block. And so let's quickly sew this together.
Okay.
I'm going to
Chain piece it.
chain piece it. And to each of our blocks, we're going to add a strip of sashing. And this little sashing right here, hold that up, Natalie, so they can see what I'm talking about.
This
So we'll
block?
add a little strip of sashing. And the sashing will be the measurement of your block, which
12.5.
should be 12.5, yeah.
Yep.
Natalie's way better on that math stuff. All right. So I'm going to put this one on here. It's my last strip. Here's my middle. Put this one on here. And then here's my outside, and this one goes here. And this chain piecing like this really works like pins for me. And so now I have these 3 blocks right here. Open it up, make sure everything is in the right places, and then what we'll do is we'll fold this one on top of this middle on this side, and I'm going to line up the edge and then take a few anchoring stitches, and then I'm going to go to my first, where my first 2 seams connect, and make sure one seam is going in and one seam is going out. My middle seam is going to the outside, and so my top block seams will be going to the inside. And then we're going to flip this around and do the same thing. And I'm going to remember that my middle seam is going to the out, because then when we iron it, it will just lay nice and flat. So to the out. And I'll show you in a minute what I mean by to the out, because that could be a little confusing. All right, so here's our finished block right here. Looks great.
So cute.
And this is what I mean. So this middle seam right here, it's going out this way. And then these seams right here are going, when we put our block together, these seams are going in. And so what ends up happening is this whole block right here. So this is just going to make it lay nice and flat. So Natalie, if you want to press that.
Okay.
And then I have some strips here. So you're going to cut a bunch of 2.5-inch strips that are 12.5, and you will sew them to the side of your block, just like this. And you'll sew them to the side of all of your blocks. So this one you're going to sew it on the right hand, like this. So on the right hand side, your sashing will go. And so you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. And on the last one, you're going to leave your sashing off, because we're going to sew a border all the way around it. So just on those middle ones. And then when you're ready to put your middle sashing in right here, you're going to sew 12.5 to 1 corner square, and you're going to do this all the way across. So 1 long strip and sew it across. So then when you put them together, I want to show you what happens right here. So when you put them together, you'll see this sashing right here, and you'll see this next row will come together like this.
Yep.
And here,
Perfect.
let me move this over like this a little bit. And you'll be able to see how that little 9 patch comes together in the center.
That's really
You see
cool.
that right there?
Yeah, it's cool
Yeah.
how that creates.
I love secondary patterns when they appear, and it's very, very fun. So you'll do that with all your rows. There's 5 in a row by 6 down, and it just comes together so nice. Then you'll add your 2.5-inch border on the outside. You'll add a nice big 6-inch border out here. Let's take a look at the back.
Oh, that's
So
so
here's
pretty.
the backing. They're just such vibrant and pretty colors. The quilt pattern we used on this is cotton candy,
Yep.
and it's just like little clouds. It comes together so easily. So it was really fun to do a remake of this, wasn't it?
It was. It's a great quilt.
It's a great quilt. People have loved it. It's been very, very popular. It's super easy to put together.
Yeah.
And with a turn of the block, you get a whole new thing. So
very
have fun
cool.
with this and give it a try. And we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on one of our favorite 15 quilts, the Quatrefoil Quilt from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you aren't already part of the Missouri Star Quilt Company family, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss a thing. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you every time a new tutorial comes out. See you next Friday.